Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Fazbear Entertainment would like you to put your hands together for the one, the only, Freddy Fazbear.
Rewritten! Content warning. This video is not made for kids. It contains fictional depictions of mental illness, fictional violence, and fictional abuse. The fictional characters in this story are heavily afflicted by the things that I have spelled out to you, and some of the inner monologue seems to suggest that they should be getting hurt like this, but that is absolutely not the case. Me portraying this abuse or mental illness is meant to show the audience how the illness or abuse feels inside of the mind of the afflicted person, so they can sympathize and maybe stop themselves from following a similar pattern in the future. Be careful if you are easily triggered. You're most likely about to enter the mind of someone who is heavily afflicted by illness and abuse. Viewer discretion is advised. Who do you think you are? This decision is not yours to make. Gregory winced as the makeup pad was pushed harder into his eye, his mother's fingers getting sloppier the more she argued with whoever was talking on the phone with her. "Quit moving," she whispered. "You'll smear it." "I'm sorry, ma'am." Gregory did his best to do as he was told, but it was hard to keep still when someone like his mother was literally digging her fingers into his hurt eye. His mother had her phone pinched between her shoulder and her ear, leaving her hands free to work on Gregory's face. Several makeup sets surrounded them on the bathroom counter, the one closest to his skin tone held in his mother's hand as she layered the powdery substance heavily over his black eye. Gregory was trying his best to keep from trembling, but the fresh memory of her shoving his face into the sink's knob kept rushing back to hammer him again every time that she slipped up and pressed a little too deep into the bruised flesh. To his mother's dismay, Gregory had woken up the morning after the first interview with a prominent black eye, and that would absolutely not do if they were about to be on camera a second time. At least 2 more news outlets had asked to interview Gregory just like the first one, and if people compared the first interview to the second, it would be pretty obvious that the black eye hadn't been from the Pizzaplex. Unlike his mother, Gregory really didn't care what he looked like. Instead, he was dreading having to recount June 28th for yet another crowd of strangers. "This is completely ridiculous," his mother seethed, dipping the pad into the concealer again. "I already told you no, this decision is none of your business." Even though she was just shouting at the person on the other end of the line, it was still making Gregory's heart pound to hear her fury this up close and personal. He could only catch snippets of what the person on the phone was saying, but he could already tell what they were arguing about from simple context clues. "No, hey!" his mother whispered to him, transitioning the phone to her chest to try and hide what she was saying from the other person's ears. "Don't cry, you'll make it run." "Yes, ma'am." Gregory pressed his eyes shut, holding his breath, trying to distract himself. His mother placed the phone back between her shoulder and ear, trying to fix the work that he had just ruined. Don't cry. It'll just take longer if you cry." Despite how hard he was trying to hold in his emotions, Gregory couldn't stop his mind from flashing back to the smell of decomposition, the flaking backs of flies, the oozing, crusty mess around his... "No, you can't force me to cremate him!" His mother straightened up, pausing in her work to snarl. "He was my son! You can't make these sort of decisions for me!" Gregory tried to swallow the lump in his throat, but at this point it felt as disruptive as a hunk of apple jabbing into his windpipe. Both eyes stung as he fought to keep the newly forming tears from spilling over, terrified that his mother's wrath would be rounded on him the moment that he became more frustrating than the person she was already arguing with. "I'm sorry, James. I'm so sorry." That just kept on repeating in his head over and over. "I'm so sorry, James. I'm so sorry." "What problems?" His mother put a hand on one hip. The other person chattered on as she glared at a nonspecific spot on the floor. That is bullshit, she snapped. I don't care what some stupid ghost stories say. I am not letting you burn my son's body. There was already so much going on inside of Gregory's head, he could hardly find room to accept what exactly they were talking about. He didn't have a connection to the internet, much less an actual phone, so his information on what Henry said about Afton was only passed on to him by other kids before he was homeschooled. All that he really understood was that the adults were worried that, very soon, James might get up again. That whole concept, his brain just blanked out when he tried to think about it, his entire body going numb. It was such a startling and disgusting thing to even mention, every atom in his body desperate to expel it immediately. But he couldn't just leave a topic like this alone. No, it couldn't be true. Vanessa's plan couldn't have worked. She was crazy, right? Her plan couldn't have actually worked. He didn't want that. He didn't want her to be right. Even suggesting that she might have been saner than they thought was just too much to bear. Pain began to thud from deep inside of his chest, turning his breaths shallow and rough. Why did Vanessa think that she could decide to do this to James? Even though Vanessa was probably burning in hell in a special seat right next to Afton, that punishment hadn't freed James from what she had already done to him. He just didn't want to think about it. He didn't even want to mention it out loud. Like if he just didn't say anything, the grief would lose interest and leave him alone. The final answer is no, his mother stamped a foot. He is going to be buried like a normal person. And if you're planning to accidentally cremate him anyway, I will take legal action to make sure that you lose your job and never work again. His mom forcefully hung up the call, exhaling heavily through her gritted teeth like a smoking dragon. She dropped the phone back on the bathroom countertop, seizing Gregory's jaw again. He winced, frightened that she was about to take her anger out on him, but she was only trying to reposition him so she could continue trying to cover up the black eye. Somehow, this jittering silence was worse than listening to the argument over the phone. Gregory kept his lips pressed shut, using all of his willpower to keep from breaking down in front of his mother. She was already under a lot of stress from the lawsuit that she was about to go through with against Fazbear Entertainment. The impending funeral and Gregory's interviews were only agitating her even more, and he really, really didn't want to be the target for her flaring temper. Okay, that'll have to do, his mother said, slapping the various makeup containers closed. Come on, you'll have to read over the script again in the car. Yes, ma'am. When she turned and bustled out of the bathroom, he let out a shaky sigh. He climbed down from the stool, but instead of following her, he looked back at the smeared mirror behind him. It had overlooked the entire interaction, and within it he saw his head only barely sticking up over the edge of the sink. The swollen bruises that his mother had painted over weren't quite as noticeable now. Enough to pass, at least. He reached up and touched the bite on his head, blankly watching his reflection do the same. The stitches were choppy and ugly, looking a bit like a line of hairy black caterpillars that had taken root in his hair. Would the next cameraman be doing the same thing as the first, focusing the lens on his pain like he was some sort of sick piece of art? He was overcome with the urge to run up to his room, hide in the closet, and never come out again. He didn't want to go through all of that a second time. He didn't want to stand in front of a crowd of cameras like a tragic car accident while a reporter tried to poke a reaction out of him. But like his mom said, it would help pay for the hospital bills. It was the least that he could do for all the trouble that he caused her. Gregory, we're going to be late! His mom called, shocking him out of his trance. Gregory forced himself to turn and leave the reflection behind. I did it. It's over. I think I'm going to throw up again. There is so much blood. He just wouldn't die. It was horrible. It was so horrible. It was... I keep telling myself that it'll be worth it. James will be back. He's not going to be dead for very long, but... Oh my God, what have I done? I tried to pretend that it was Jeremy instead. I thought that might make it easier. But then I realized... I think... I think he's... No. The kid was calling to someone. Gregory. Will he be here next? Or will he be smart enough just to go to the police? I don't know. James. Jay. What if he was... No, he couldn't be. But I'm not sure. He was always so secretive about it, and she didn't even want to hear his name. No, it's a coincidence. I'm being ridiculous. What are the odds that... What am I doing? What am I doing? If Sun and Moon find out... They won't. Not until he comes back. And they'll understand once he does. He has to come back. I wonder if I'm going to go to hell when I die. You'd think that obsessing over what happens after death would give you peace, but it hasn't. It appears that no religion is 100% right about the afterlife, but there's enough overlap to know what's probably gonna happen to me. I don't want to die, but I know from my research that he's gonna be powered by vengeance. And that's the one flaw in my plan. I still have to deposit the teeth, but I'm not sure if my evasive measures will work. Even Afton had to die eventually. I'm scared I'm going to... No, I can't get tied up with my own emotions. This isn't about me. This is about the good of humanity. I have to remember why I'm doing this. It might be too late for Mom and Dad, but it's not too late for billions of doomed families all around the globe. This doesn't count as murder. I was saving him, even though I didn't know it yet. James will be back soon. He'll be back soon. I know you're watching, Mom, Dad. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Woo! Okay, so if you enjoyed the video and want to show your support, please go down and like the video and comment about your favorite part. It only takes a few seconds of your time and it really, really helps me out in the long run, especially since this channel has been struggling recently and I want to get things out into the algorithm so more people can get to see this story and stuff. So sorry about this episode being so short. I know it's short. There's a few episodes where Gregory's thing is going to be really short, but to make up for that, I am going to, in a few hours, I'm going to post the next episode. I just thought that it would be unfair to drop this, like, 8-minute episode and then be like, okay, you guys have to wait 2 more weeks now to get the next one. So, the next episode is going to be coming out probably at about 3 o'clock-ish. Once I finish up editing it, there's still a few things I gotta trim, but yeah. The next episode I am so excited for. It is literally my favorite episode in the entire rewrite. You guys are probably gonna understand once we get to it, but it is my favorite episode. I am so excited. We're finally gonna do it. So yeah, I don't want to give any spoilers. Bye. Look out for that next episode. I'm really, really, really excited to show you guys it. I've been waiting so long to finally release this one. It's my favorite, and I'm rambling. So, bye. Make sure to show your support with commenting and liking the video and stuff like that, and telling other friends about the rewrite. It really, really, really helps me out. Thank you so much for your support. Okay, that's all I had to say. Bye. Love you guys.